What's going on, guys? This is Joe Young coming at you another video for the week. So this week I'm going to give you guys an update on my Planet Discus tank. To quickly give you guys an update on what's going on with the tank, a few months ago I decided to pick up some wild-caught discus, mainly the Heckels, just because I really like the mid-bars on those discus. The fish went through several weeks of quarantine and deworm, and afterwards they went into this 55-gallon tank where they're pretty much going to be their permanent home. So about a month ago when I added these fish into the actual tank, the tank itself was still growing. The plants itself was fairly new to actually the substrate and the water parameters, so it actually had some time to actually grow in. Also during the quarantine phase, one of the discus was actually getting picked on to the point where I actually had to separate one of them. So I made a judgment call based on the discus and in terms of their new environment. I went ahead and added all 5 discus into this tank at once, just because one, they'll reestablish the pecking order, and 2, they actually had a lot more room just kind of swim around and kind of hide in between the plants, versus the other quarantine tank was a lot smaller and more confined, so they couldn't really hide or kind of couldn't really move from each other as fast. So I figured I'd give it another shot, and actually it panned out really well. So currently right now I believe the discus has figured out the pecking order. It seems like, they do kind of chase each other around once in a while, but they're not all ganging up on one discus. It seems like they kind of like to school with each other for the most part. Some of them will kind of like go on one end just when they're looking for food. The other ones will hide under the actual overflow box, just because that's the most shaded area. It seems like they really like the shaded area when they're kind of just chilling. So let's quickly go over the tank. As you can see, the plants are grown in very well. Actually, it looks like I'm due for another trimming pretty soon here. So if you guys are interested in any of these plants, so the 2 plants that I actually have a lot of and that I need trimming on is the bonsai and the toninas. So if you guys are interested in these plants, they are on the Purely Aquatic website. Make sure you guys go check that out. Now, it's taking some time for the actual carpeting plant to actually carpet. It looks like we finally got some carpet growth finally. I've been trying to grow these Monte Carlos forever, and it literally took probably about 3 months to just establish to this condition. It'll probably be another month before it actually fills in really well. I'm looking forward to actually seeing this whole tank just filled with plants. So far so good. We got some plants in the back that are kind of just still transitioning to the conditions here. The Laguigio White is kind of, slowly making its way there. It doesn't look like it's thriving really well for me. I'm still crossing my fingers, hoping that they do well. The Blix Japonica is finally taking off, so I'm probably going to end up splitting some of these guys to plant them across a lot more, so we can just fill them in. In terms of the plant, so far so good. There is some signs of deficiency in terms of the plants, so that means I'm going to actually start having to dose the aquarium. I actually have not been dosing the tank at all. I've just been letting the substrate kind of do its thing and just doing a weekly water change to kind of replenish what's kind of lost there. But it looks like some of the leaves are starting to kind of have holes start to turn yellow, so I'm gonna actually have to start dosing more frequently now, which isn't a problem. All right, so let's go back to the discus. Now, these wild-caught discus are looking like they're a little bit more comfortable with the tank. They are still shy, as most discus are, but I found that these smaller juvenile wild discus are a little bit more shy compared to your domestic discus. These guys tend to dart to the shade once the lights are on. They do come out once there's food in the tank, but generally they like to hide under the shade. Versus my other discus in my display tank, which are tank rays. They're out and about in the front for the most part. They're actually kind of swimming up and down. I would say for these guys, I would say maybe give them a couple more months once they're kind of comfortable with me. Just visually I'm like a giant compared to them, so when a shadow kind of walks by, they can kind of get spooked and kind of see that. But I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping to kind of get them more familiar with myself, associate me with food, or associate me with something, or treat or something like that, so that every time they see me they'll kind of come up to the front glass. And for the most part they are doing that. As I'm feeding them, they're all coming out in the front, so no complaints there. These guys are looking great. I'm hoping that they color up, display their mid-bar a lot more for you guys. This is also a learning process for myself, just because this is my first time keeping wild-caught discus. I want to do a video down the road for you guys in terms of how to keep wild discus, or maybe a comparison between wild caught discus versus tank rays, things to look for and things to kind of just be aware of. I won't make that video now just because I only have a few months experience with wild caught, and I want to get a couple months under the belt before I kind of make some sort of conclusion with these fish. Ever since I actually added the plecos into the tank, for the most part, the tank has been under control with algae. There's a few spots here and there just because, this is a lot of light running through the tank. And also, the plecos are generally a little bit smaller, so they can't really consume algae as fast as some of the bigger ones. But as they grow up, I think that, the tank will be more spot clean, similar to the tank in the living room. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's update. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. And like always, until next time guys, peace.